How much thought have you given to the race for the presidency this year? Well, here's what Americans told us. 61% said quite a lot of thought. Now, we've asked this same question at about this time in February in previous elections, and it forms a very interesting comparison. Go back to 2008 in February, 72% of Americans said they had given quite a lot of thought to the election. That's higher. Why? Well, remember that was an open seat. George W. Bush was retiring, and we had therefore contested primaries on both the Republican and the Democratic side. John McCain was winning the nomination on the Republican side, and Barack Obama was still fighting in February Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination, so there was more interest in general. Go back to 2004. 60% of Americans had given quite a lot of thought to the election, about the same as right now. 2004 was an election that maybe didn't have as much excitement to it because George W. Bush was running for re-election, so there was no Republican primary. John Kerry was in the process of winning the Democratic nomination. Now let's go back to 2000. That was another open seat. Bill Clinton was having to retire, having been in office for 2 terms. Only 44% of Americans had given quite a lot of thought to the election in February of 2000. Why? That's pretty low, lower than now. One thing I think helps explain that, and that is that both George W. Bush on the Republican side and Al Gore, the incumbent vice president at that time on the Democratic side, were pretty much assured of getting their party's nomination, so there wasn't a lot of excitement about the primary season back in 2000. The real excitement, of course, came later in 2000 as those two individuals fought it out, and of course fought it out even after the votes in November with the disputed count down in Florida. So at the moment, we would say Americans giving maybe average level of thought to this election, but certainly we are not seeing signs now that there is as much thought being given as was the case in 2008, and maybe that could suggest turnout may be lower this year than in 2008, but of course we'll have to wait and see. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.